call this meeting to order. The Ojrsd Roberts Board of School Directors regular business meeting Monday, July 30, 2012 at 7:37. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Post colors.
Color guard, up now, face, forward, march.
Please remain standing. Please join us in a moment of silence as we reflect on those serving in the armed forces, both past and present, the elected leaders of the state of Pennsylvania, and elected leaders of our nation. We have much to be thankful for in our community. Please be seated. All right, executive sessions, there's been many. There was an executive session Monday, December 12th, 2011, 6 p.m. to discuss personnel matters. Friday, January 6th, 2012 at 6 p.m. as a informational work session. Saturday, January 7th, 2012 at 8:30 a.m. Executive information work session of the board. Monday, January 9th, 2012 at 7 p.m. to discuss personnel matters. Monday, January 30th, 2012 at 6 p.m. to discuss personnel matters. And there will be another one Monday, January 30th following the board meeting to discuss personnel matters. Item 4, Acting Superintendent's Report. Dr. Soder.
Good evening. I would like to turn things over initially to Dr. Martini for our student recognitions tonight.
Thank you. The following students qualified for the very prestigious PMBA District Band Festival, which was held at Conestoga High School from January 12th to the 14th, 2012. In addition, they qualified to move on to the next level, which is the PMBA Regional Band Festival, which will be held at Ojrsd High School, February 16th through 18th. Congratulations go to the following students. If they could please come up. Amanda Ficca, Kelsey Fries, Kristen Giannotti, Eddie Meyer, Betsy Miller, Kylie Strickler, and Alan Taylor.
Congratulations.
Missed a couple.
Also, just wanted to note the information came in late this past weekend. The 7 students were at the PMEA District Choir auditions this past weekend at Radnor High School for the choir. 6 of those students made it to the regionals and will be auditioning in March. We'll have those results in another meeting as they move on, and we can give you the results of those auditions. So very impressive students with both the band and choir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
students are participating in the West Vincent Elementary School after-school language program. For 8 weeks, high school students are going to West Vincent to teach French, German, Latin, and Spanish to students in grades 1 through 6. Next, the WildCat Ambassadors gave the entire 8th grade class, over 400 students, tours of the elective classes of the building. They also assisted with 8th grade course selections with the counselors, as well as 9th grade course selections on Skyward. And then lastly, various students' organizations from the high school are organizing the canned food drive to benefit the Philabundance. It'll take place at the end of February.
And Mr. Kleinhardt, this concludes our report.
Thank you, Dr. Soder. Gave me time to recover from my casualty up here. I had a paper cut.
It's tough being on the school board, but thank you.
There's very few injuries that can happen.
All right, moving on to item 5. Information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda. Speakers are to indicate your name, township of residence, and the item on the agenda which you wish to comment and address. Speakers are limited to no more than 3 minutes.
Brian Budd, North Coventry Township. I had a question about item 1315, approval of memorandum of understanding with the Teamsters. I didn't see any documents attached in the web docs, but I was just wondering if you could expand on that and let the public know what that's all about.
Yeah, Mrs. Crumrine.
Sure, I'd be happy to respond, Mr. Budd. We have a joint agreement with the Teamsters to reorganize housekeeping positions within the district, and it was developed jointly to run more efficiently and also to save the taxpayers approximately $130,000 a year. So that's the agreement.
Yeah, that would have been nice to see on the agenda. And then 1320, the settlement agreement. To the extent possible, could you expand on that also? The dollar amount, what it's about?
Council?
Due to FERPA restrictions, there are limits to what we can share, and we can't share beyond the fact that the board may be entering into a confidential settlement release.
Thank you.
Doesn't say it's what the student did, right?
That's the problem.
You can't even say it's.
I don't know. But can you specify that it's the half a year?
Let's go.
All right, item 6, appointment of board members to standing committees and school board representatives as presented by the president. I'm assuming these are all listed in the agenda. I'm not going to read through them all. And they'll be posted to the school board website along with the different committees and the chairman and the members. At this time, we'll run through item 7, board committee reports. If members have information, they can go ahead and share it at this time. Otherwise, just say that there's no report. The first item was a meeting of the committee of the whole was held on Monday, January 23rd in the administration building at the school board room. The following items were on the agenda: pupil service and special education, legislative and policy, curriculum and instruction, technology, and extracurricular and interscholastic activities. 7.2, buildings and grounds. You want me to handle it?
Sure. You're all written up there?
Yes. All right, Buildings and Grounds Committee reports. There was a meeting of Buildings and Grounds Committee held on Monday, December 12th, 2011, in Administration Building, 7 p.m. We received a project update from Mr. George Nemi on the high school roof repairs, installation of snow guards at the high school and West Vincent Elementary School, and the current status of the energy conservation measures project. The committee is recommending to the school board that we begin the Plan Con process as recommended from the feasibility study. The committee agreed to proceed with the RFP process to seek bids for an architectural services as recommended by the feasibility study. We had one service contract for roof inspections, and we have 3 land agreements for 1-year leases on district property. There was also a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting held on Monday, January 9, 2012 in the Administration Building at 7 p.m. We reviewed the process and timeline for the architectural services requested for the proposal for RFP. There's a maintenance contract for pre-dock for the drip irrigation system at French Creek Elementary School, and a roof warranty for ASTAC for the high school. The next Buildings Grounds meeting will be held February 6th, 2012 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. That concludes my reports. Chester County Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Barkus.
The Chester County Intermediate Board of Directors held its monthly meeting on January 18, 2012 at the Educational Service Center in Downingtown. The following items were discussed and acted upon. The CCIU Executive Director, Dr. Joseph O'Brien, reiterated to the board that all of the CCIU is deeply aware of the financial constraints that their district are under due to Act 1, a stagnant economy and eroding property taxes. And in the following, the teachers and administration of the CCIU, the project technical and specialist staff have also agreed to a 1-year salary freeze for the 2012-13 school year, resulting in $311,300 worth of savings for the upcoming school year. The board unanimously approved the memorandum of understanding with the technical project specialty staff for the 2012-13 school year. This brings the total savings due to salary freezes in $2,078,072. Teachers and administrations agreed to a salary freeze in November, and a memorandum of understanding was signed with both the CCIU administrators and the professional staff at the CCIU's monthly Board of Directors meeting on Wednesday, November 16, 2011. Dr. O'Brien also reported that he began discussing a 0% increase with the CCIU's 540 support staff members. We had 3 new board members appointed to the CCIU Board of Directors from Downingtown, Phoenixville, and Westchester. We had a presentation of the overview of the special events and enrichment programs to the board, one of those being the science fair that our school district will be competing in February. So from the board, I'd like to wish all those entries and all those students good luck from O&J. New business, the CCIU Board of Directors approved the following item: the first reading of the 2012-13 IU calendar. So that was our first reading of that calendar last month. Our next meeting will be held on Wednesday, February 15th, 2012, 8 p.m. at the IU Educational Service Center in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Barkus. Curriculum and Instruction Committee, Mrs. Barkus.
I have no report at this time.
All right, thank you. Extracurricular and interscholastic activity, Mr. Stone.
No report, Mr. Kleinfelder.
Finance, Mr. Freeze.
No report at this time, Mr. Kleinfelter.
Legislative and Policy, Mr. Lakoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report.
Thank you, Mr. Lakoff. Personnel Committee, Mr. Freeze.
No report at this time, Mr. Kleinfelter.
All right, thank you, Mr. Freeze. Pupil Services and Special Education.
Just the minutes from the county meeting, we just discussed the bullying prevention program. And Dr. Sutter discussed the definition of the bullying prevention program. And also each of the principals at the county discussed that program as it takes place in their building.
Thank you, Mrs. Zaner. Technology, Mr. Hughes.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. And Transportation, Mr. Stone.
No report at this time.
All right, moving on to item 8, recommended routine matters. This is a consent item, so we'll be voting or accepting items 8.1 through 8.9.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9, approval of routine matters. Item 9.1, approval of bills for the month of October and November as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Yeah, we said next time we would consent, but this time we wouldn't. 9.2, approval of food service bills for October and November 2011 is presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 9.3, approval of budget transfers for the month of October and November is presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 9.4, approval of meeting minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lecoff, second by Mrs. Barkus. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Number 10, Board Communications. Mrs. Cromwell.
There are no board communications, Mr. President.
Thank you. 11.1, Board Discussion. I'd like to start Board Discussion with the Superintendent Search Update. The focus group meetings have been completed. There were 2 community sessions held, one on December 7th, 2011, and one on December 15th, 2011. The participants were asked 4 questions and provided feedback that will be helping building the leadership profile for the next superintendent. There were also 10 sessions held with the internal staff of the school community. Resumes are due to Dr. O'Brien by January 31st, 2012. We currently have 25 resumes for candidates for superintendent. February 1st through 28th, we'll be reviewing the resumes and creating a list of candidate for interview. And then March 1st through March 15th, we'll be interviewing semifinalist candidates. And actually, this is a tentative schedule, but this is kind of what we're working with. And then with the plan of by April, the April school board meeting, hopefully announcing and appointing a new superintendent. That concludes that. Any more discussion?
I just had one quick item, Mr. Kleinfelder.
Yes, Mr. Stone.
And this is about an upcoming seminar being hosted by the PSBA. I know that there's been some advertising and awareness of the National School Board Association annual meeting in April, but the PSBA is hosting a leadership symposium in State College on the 25th and 26th of February. And some of the topics looked rather timely in terms of school finances, PSERS, communicating budgets, benefits of foundations, salary items, and I know that as a board, we're going to be discussing those things. It's not something that I'm able to attend, the dates don't work, but I just wanted to throw that out. Hopefully, one of us is able to participate.
Mr. Stone, I think that's designed for the board president. There is a similar one, that's given as a roundtable, not roundtable, around the state, that's focusing on legal matters. They touch on a lot of that, a lot of those topics, and that will be given in the closest one in Montgomery County.
I think this is wide open. I mean, school president would be great, but it says right on the card, special registration fee for newly elected board members, if you're interested. So.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
I have one other topic.
All right, Mr. Hughes.
Just, I had some thoughts here. We had a great debate at the Cal meeting around various topics, but one discussion was around the reorganization of our committee structures. In the minutes, we still have that open-ended, and one thought I had would be that we appoint or people volunteer for a subcommittee that would report back and suggest a new structure made of administration and the board, wherein we have somewhat of a deadline, like the March 1st or the March Cal meeting, where we're either going to decide to change our structure or hold it until the next year. Because I don't think we should allow that to go on for many months. At some point, we just need to have a decision around, do we want to change our structure, or do we want to consider to discuss this over a period of months? Because I think it's something we could take care of pretty quickly if we had a subgroup that would look at it, both administration and also board.
Okay. So that would be an ad hoc group.
It'd be a hot topic, yes.
So, all right, I will take that into consideration and see if we can put something together.
I think it'd be a great resume builder to show that you're on the committee.
Yeah, I would do it.
Lead it?
No, I don't want to leave it. Well,
Think
what do
you
I
should
have to
lead it.
do if I lead it? Give me the heads up before I come in. No, but that's something I would definitely be interested in. When we were talking about what's the point of a committee it really made a lot of sense as I brewed on it after that evening. And I'm beginning to see your point. So let's sit down and figure this out so that we can be more effective and efficient.
Well, we would either have to do it with 3 members, 4 members, or the whole board. So that's kind of how it would have to be set up.
Are you asking for volunteers now? Or
No, not yet, but
Okay.
I will.
So the idea is to create an ad hoc committee to review the committee structure and make
And make,
recommendations to the board.
correct.
And there's no reason why, it can't be part of the, a special meeting. It's a public meeting that people discuss and debate where we're going to go with that. Because I think as long as we set that timetable and kind of commit ourselves to doing it is the key, making sure that we have progress.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any more discussion?
I know, right?
All right, item 12, old business, there's none. 13, new business, 13.1. I need to read this. Approval of the start date for the 2012-2013 school year. As it states in the regulation, the calendar guidelines. Basically what that means is the start date of school for the 2012-2000 year will be September 4, 2012, as recommended by the Legislative Policy Committee.
Do we have to vote on this? Or we just reaffirm it?
I think Dr. Soder would like us to confirm,
It's a motion.
it's a motion.
I think Ellen P. brought it.
Fair.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lekoff, second by Mr. Stone. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.2, approval of the following clubs, organizations in accordance with the provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code This approval also provides for the establishment of accounts for student activities, accounting systems for the 2011-2012 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Stone. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.3, approval of attendance of conferences as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.4, approval of appointment of the following mentor teachers to new contracts and/or replacement teachers as presented for the 2011-2012 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Freeze. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.5, approval/ratification of the following resignations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Freeze. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.6, approval/ratification of the following request for sabbatical leave for 2011-2012.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.7, approval of ratification of leaves of absence and/or child rearing leave requested as per board policy for the periods of 12 calendar weeks as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mrs. DeLulu. Any discussion?
Yes. Everyone on this list is a fabulous person, and I wish them all the best in their leaves of absence, especially if it's child rearing. And I welcome them back with open arms, and I hope that their births are happy and healthy, and they deserve this right. However, I would like for you to look at the amount on this list and us to begin discussing our hiring policy regarding what we will allow for a new hire as far as experience and payment. And I would also like to request if we can have some sort of financial account of what the impact is on the district for the long-term subs.
Good question.
No.
Any more discussion?
I would like to disregard any questions or suggestions about person's status prior to hiring.
Clarify?
I don't think someone takes a family leave, whether they're likely to now or in the future, should be any consideration whatsoever.
True.
That's a federal right anyway.
With regards to our policy, just to make sure that I can clarify, I'm talking about experience. Years of experience and our ability to hire people at a certain level is limited right now.
So you're not really suggesting that we should look to hire people that are senior citizens?
No, I'm purely looking at experience level of new teachers entering our district. Thank you for asking that question so that
Important clarification.
no one could misjudge what I was saying.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Actually, Mrs. Crum, are you all right?
I'd like to clarify. Mrs. Barkus moved and Mrs. DeLulla seconded the motion.
Correct.
Okay, and 9-0 is the vote.
And you have,
My request? Yes,
The-
I have your request to review the policy as well as what the financial impact is on the long-term substitutes.
Correct.
Yep, I think I'm good, thanks.
thank you. 13A, approval/ratification of the following substitutes, part-time and casual appointments as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Stone. Any discussion?
I have a question. As far as a daily substitute teacher, why is that our hire if we're using ASAP?
This situation's a little bit unusual in that we have someone who was a long-term sub, and then she's going to be taking a per diem substitute position in another building. And to get her through, we typically use Chester County Intermediate Unit, but because of this unique situation, in order to not lose any days that we would be able to have her sub, we're having her in our district, we're having her approved as a daily sub. Because the Chester County Intermediate Unit, unless I ask for an exception, is no longer hiring any substitutes. So there's some issues as to why we're doing it this particular way.
And she's been a substitute in our district prior with experience of our district?
She's a long-term sub, but not as a daily sub. So because she's going in for an assignment less than 90 days.
I understand. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
And one comment also, I think, as we vote, we discussed having same people in multiple job titles, making sure they don't hit the 40-hour concerns before. I think we need to just track on that for this as well. Because I know we have a couple of names here that are in different job categories, so we want to keep them on.
You're talking about support staff
Yeah.
not hitting greater than 40 hours?
Since they have multiple jobs.
Well, the
in
calculation
district.
is not.
That has to be monitored
Mhm.
via timesheets. So
I just want to ensure that we're monitoring it, that's all.
we're trying to monitor it the best we can.
No, we have to monitor it, yeah. No try, just monitor,
Well,
yeah.
it's a manual process at this time.
If we don't have a process in place that can monitor this effectively 100% of the time, then we should not pass this motion.
When you're talking about the two individuals here, they've both been in as part of their offer to work those two positions, they've been told they're not to work greater than 40 hours.
Right, but if we don't have a process to monitor that efficiently 100% of the time, then the motion shouldn't pass. And it doesn't sound like we do.
I understand what you're saying.
So if you want to spin off one person here, we can break this motion up into separate people. We've discussed this before, so that's why I don't really have a tolerance.
It's a wage and hour
It is.
issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you got a motion to split this up? And just leave the last one on there?
You said the audience on hiring substitute teachers.
The Chester County Intermediate Unit has a freeze on hiring substitute teachers. At last count, they have 800 substitute teachers on their list.
Was it just the
Now,
new that?
if I request them to add someone just for O&J Roberts, they will do that. However, there is a window of time that process needs to go through.
So one individual also has another job too.
I'm not disagreeing.
3 jobs.
So I guess I can make a second motion to split this into 3 votes. Mr. Baker, Mrs. Snyder, and Mrs. Starsweski.
Well, one of them is actually a ratification, so I'm not sure how,
Well,
but,
As a district, we've been through something similar here, and is there if we could just be certain that there's a way to monitor and ensure that we're complying with wage and hour.
Legally, we're obligated anytime anyone hits greater than 40 hours to pay them for that time. However, if they're told not to work greater than 40 hours and they do so, it becomes a disciplinary issue, which is personnel matter not to be discussed.
I could add to what Ms. Hefner is saying. If there has been a directive from administration that you are not to work over 40 hours, and that person then does so, there's no obligation to pay that. I mean, we have given a directive, they have done otherwise. The gray area is when we don't give the directive and they work over 40 hours. Technically, there needs to actually be a directive to go over the 40 hours. So if there's the affirmative in the negative not to work over the 40 hours, that should protect the district in this regard. I would suggest it is in writing, not just a verbal directive.
I think to Mr. Wu's point, again, we have to be sure that there's a way to monitor that process, because we don't want to be in a position where people are abusing it or think that they may be able to work overtime when it hasn't been given directive. We aren't in a position to find that, but we just want to be sure that there's a way to monitor the process.
Well, if they sign a form that they've been informed,
Hourly employees must fill out a timesheet. Anything greater than 40 hours will be reported on a timesheet, which runs through the payroll office.
Ms. Hefner, have you given a written directive not to work more than 40 hours?
We can certainly issue that directive to all hourly employees that no overtime will be
Good idea.
worked unless it is approved.
You think that's a good
I think
idea?
that will protect the district in that regard.
Yeah, no, there's still a
No,
motion
so I'll
separate.
withdraw my motion because it was never seconded.
Okay, and I would also offer that in this week's board line, we can provide what we do in the payroll office when we're reviewing timesheets, because this has come up.
And I would,
So we'll provide a written
I would think that
explanation.
these are like daily tasks, so, I mean, you should be able to try to figure out, you know, if you're gonna have a person be a substitute secretary, you should know where they're at in the week before you offer them. I mean, are you scheduling this weeks ahead of time, or is this?
No,
on
they're
an-
just, this is just people who want to be on the substitute list, so that if something comes up and someone's absent.
Right, so you should
They
know
will
how
be
many
called.
hours they've already worked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And before payroll is issued, there is a review done, a detailed review done, so that we're looking for individuals who are like this, and it should get flagged, to be quite honest.
All right, so I'm gonna read the motion again. It's 13.8, approval/ratification of the following substitute part-time and casual appointments as presented. Compensation rates for part-time and casual employees are as adopted by the Board of School Directors. There is no other compensation or fringe benefits for these positions. Did we have a motion before?
We had a motion and a second before, yes.
And the motion was?
We had a motion by Mr. Hughes and seconded by Mr. Stone.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.9, approval/ratification of the appointment of the following non-certificated positions as presented.
second. Sorry.
Motion by Mr. Lakoff, second by Mrs. Barkus. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 13.10, approval appointment of an Act 93 position as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lakoff, second by Mrs. Ettinger. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1311, approval/ratification of the appointment of the following personnel.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lecoff, second by Mrs. Ettinger. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1312, approval of the following extracurricular and supplemental interscholastic academic and athletic activity appointments for the 2011-2012 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mrs. DeLuca. Any discussion?
I have a discussion item, Mr. President.
Mr. Freeze.
With their extracurricular activities, is there any way if the activity happened the year before or the semester before, that we might be able to get the number of students that were involved in that activity listed with this? Just to give us an idea if it's
Sure, so
It's
you're looking
being
for a
properly
column
utilized.
that says number of students,
prior,
prior
maybe
year.
how many students like
Okay.
that, if that's not a burden to the administration.
Yeah, I know in the fall, Mr. Strock gave us a list of the number of students that came out, the numbers that were cut, if any. I guess winter's usually probably not as big of a problem, but we'd like to see that again for the spring.
Sure. Now, this list also has intramural activities as well. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1313, approval/ratification of alteration of the sign as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1314, approval/ratification of the appointment of the following teacher/substitute teachers for the elementary after-school program as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1315, approval of memorandum of understanding between the Owen J. Roberts School District and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local Number 384 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Stone. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1316, approval of agreement with the Chester County Intermediate Unit for the Brand New Wine Virtual Academy as presented and approval by as presented by the Committee of the Whole on January 23rd, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion?
I just want to reiterate that, yes, we are taking on this agreement in hopes that it'll save us money and bring some cyber school children back. However, we as a board believe that our in-house academic curriculum and teachers are the best way to go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1317, approval of student trips as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Freeze. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1318, ratification of homebound instruction for 3 students, student A, B, and C as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lecoff, second by Mr. Stone. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1319, approval of in lieu of faith agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Barkus, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1320, approval of confidential settlement and release agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lecoff, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1321, approval award of bids effective 1/2/2012 through 12/31/2013, based on the notification of the Joint Purchase Board in accordance with the Chester County Joint Purchase Agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1322, approval to begin the Plan Con process based on the feasibility study recommendation as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hughes, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 1323, approval award for surveying services for East Coventry and East Vincent Elementary School to Burke and Smith Engineering Incorporated as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Stone, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 1324, approval of land lease agreements as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Freeze, second by Mr. Lecoff. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 1325, approval of professional service and/or maintenance agreements as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lecoff, second by Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 14.1, public comment. Information, proposal statements, and/or questions from individuals or delegations pertaining to any item. Speakers are to indicate their name and township of residence. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Board request for information. Motion 16, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stone, second by Mr. Lecoff. Future dates are listed, and just a reminder that we will be going into executive session to discuss personnel matters. Thank you.